She posted it while I was calling her. A quote, out there for everyone to see. It said, "A woman shouldn't have to beg for attention from her own man." That was the moment I knew something had broken between us quietly, and maybe long before that post. I had been working double shifts, skipping meals, pouring every ounce of energy into building our future. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought love meant sacrifice. But while I was out there giving everything, she was online looking for sympathy. What followed was a slow unraveling of trust, of connection, of the version of us I thought was real. The wedding was planned, the ring was bought, but behind the pictures and promises, the silence was louder than ever. And eventually I had to ask myself a question I never thought I would. What's the point of building a life with someone who doesn't even see you anymore? This is how I found the answer, and why I walked away. I didn't even find out through her. I was sitting in the break room at work, halfway through a cold sandwich, just trying to survive another double shift. My phone buzzed. A buddy of mine from high school, someone I hadn't heard from in over a year, sent me a screenshot. Double quotes, "Yo, this your girl." I opened it, not thinking much of it, and there it was. A post from her account, public bold red text on a plain background. It said, "A woman shouldn't have to beg for attention from her own man." And for a second, I just stared at it, not angry, not confused, just empty, because I knew that post wasn't meant for anyone else. It was meant for me, the same guy who's been working 2 jobs for months, taking back-to-back shifts, picking up weekends, skipping meals, cutting sleep, all to pay for a wedding she said she wanted to plan her way, all to give her something she could be proud of. And here I was finding out I was being publicly called out like some lazy, neglectful idiot. I didn't even finish my sandwich. I walked back onto the floor, half on autopilot, just trying to hold myself together. The rest of my shift felt like I was floating. Numb questions just kept running through my head. When did she write that? Was she crying when she did it? Did she think I'd see it? Or was that the point? We hadn't fought recently. Nothing big anyway, just the usual stress. She said she missed me. Said I was distant. I told her I was tired, that I was trying. She said she understood. I thought we were okay, but clearly we weren't. I got home late that night. She was already asleep, or at least pretending to be. Her back was turned. Lights off. No music, no candles, just cold silence. I stood there, in the doorway for a minute, watching her, and I wanted so badly to believe there was still something between us, some understanding, some thread of connection that could pull us through. But all I felt was distance. Not just the physical kind, the emotional kind that sneaks in when you're too busy trying to be everything for someone and forget to just be with them. I took a shower, sat on the couch, stared at my phone. That post already had comments, likes. Some random girl had written, "Preach." Another guy said, "Drop him, you deserve better." She didn't reply to any of them. Didn't even try to defend me. That's when it hit me. She didn't want to defend me. She wanted the attention, not from me, from the people online, from strangers who didn't know that I was burning out, just trying to make her dream wedding a reality, from people who didn't know that I hadn't bought new shoes in over a year because I was trying to save every cent, that I'd been skipping meals, taking naps in my car between jobs, canceling plans with friends just to make sure everything went right for us. But none of that mattered now. All they saw was her side. And what crushed me the most was that she let them. She could have come to me. She could have said, "I'm lonely, I'm hurting, I need more of you." And God, I would have tried. I was trying. But instead, she made a post, and that post made a joke of everything I was killing myself to do for us. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened, made coffee, asked me if I wanted toast. I couldn't even answer. I just looked at her thinking, how can you act normal after throwing me under the bus for a few likes? Eventually, I asked her, "Why'd you post that?" She shrugged. "It's just a quote. It's not about you." But it was about me, and she knew it. I said, "You think I haven't been showing up for you? I'm working 16-hour days to build a future for us." And she just said, "Yeah, but you're never here. You're in the house, but not with me." That hurt more than anything, because she was right, but she was also wrong. I wasn't present, but not because I didn't care, because I cared too much, because I thought love meant sacrifice, that if I worked hard enough, provided enough, did enough, then it would show her how deeply I loved her. But maybe what she wanted wasn't effort. Maybe she just wanted presence, and I couldn't give both. Not anymore. That post didn't just hurt my pride. It cracked something deeper. It made me realize that maybe we weren't building the same future anymore. Maybe she wanted the idea of love more than the work of it. And maybe I had been trying to fix something that was already falling apart from the inside. That post crushed me, but it also opened my eyes. And what happened next changed everything. The days after that post was strange. She didn't delete it. She didn't talk about it again either. She just carried on like everything was fine, like nothing had shifted, but something had. I could feel it in the quiet, in the way she looked at me, or more accurately, in the way she didn't. The warmth was gone. The small touches, the shared jokes, even the casual conversations, all of it had faded, replaced by silence and screen time. I started noticing things I hadn't let myself see before. She'd be scrolling on her phone for hours, sometimes smiling, sometimes sighing. If I walked by, she'd turn the screen just slightly, not enough to be obvious, but just enough to make you feel like something was being kept out of view. I told myself not to jump to conclusions, that maybe she just needed space. But deep down, I already knew. She wasn't just hiding her phone, she was hiding her words. It's crazy how you can live with someone, sleep next to them every night, and still feel completely alone. I'd come home from my shift exhausted, body aching, and she'd be curled up on the couch watching something on her laptop with her headphones in. No, how was your day? No eye contact, just silence. And I'd stand there in the doorway, debating whether to speak or just walk past and shower off the day like I was a ghost in my own home. One night, I got in late, like really late. I'd picked up an extra job on the weekends just to make sure we'd have enough for the venue deposit. When I walked in, the place was dark except for the glow of her phone screen. She was wide awake, just lying there in bed, typing. Her face lit up every time the screen refreshed. I didn't say anything. I just stood there. Eventually she noticed me and said, "Hey, you're home." That was it. No kiss, no hug, no "you look tired." Just a flat "you're home." I nodded, took off my shoes, and sat on the edge of the bed. I wanted to ask her what she was doing, who she was talking to, why she didn't care that I was killing myself for a future. She didn't seem to want any more, but I didn't, because I was afraid of the answer. I laid down next to her, and even though our bodies were inches apart, it felt like we were on opposite the sides of the world. I stared at the ceiling while she kept tapping on her phone. The glow didn't bother me as much as the fact that she didn't even try to hide it anymore, like my presence had become irrelevant. The next morning, I woke up before her. I watched her sleep for a moment and tried to remember the last time we laughed together. I couldn't. I thought about how we used to stay up late talking about everything, our dreams, our future kids, our first home. Now we barely exchanged 5 words a day. Later that week I overheard her on the phone with one of her friends. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but she was in the kitchen and I was passing through the hallway. She didn't hear me. Her voice was low, but I caught a few words. "He just doesn't get it. I'm tired of feeling like I'm waiting for him to come back from a life I didn't ask for." That one sentence hit me harder than anything else she'd said or posted. I didn't ask her about it. What was I supposed to say? "Hey, I heard you telling your friend you're miserable because I'm working too hard to give you everything you said you wanted," but I just kept walking, pretending I hadn't heard a thing that night. I sat in the car for 15 minutes before walking inside. I felt trapped, like no matter what I did I was wrong. Work too much, I'm absent. Be home more, I'm lazy or not driven. Try to talk, I'm accused of picking a fight. Stay silent, I'm emotionally unavailable. It was like the rules kept changing and I was always a few steps behind. And yet, I still loved her. That's the part that hurts to admit. I still loved her, even in the silence, even when I knew she was slipping away. I held on to the hope that maybe this was just a rough patch, that maybe we could find our way back. But the truth is, she wasn't just slipping. She was already gone. The woman I fell in love with, the one who used to send me voice notes just to say she missed me, who used to wait up for me no matter how late I came home, she was gone, replaced by someone who posted her feelings instead of speaking them, who let strangers on the internet validate her instead of talking to the man trying to build a life with her. And I realized I wasn't fighting to fix us anymore. I was fighting to hold on to someone who had already let go. I just didn't want to see it, but that was about to change. I remember exactly where I was when I finally broke. It was a Thursday night. I had just finished another double shift. My body felt like it had been through a meat grinder sore, exhausted, running purely on caffeine and habit. I hadn't eaten all day. I hadn't sat down for longer than a few minutes, but I still stopped at the bakery on the way home because I knew she liked their almond croissants. Just a small piece, offering a quiet gesture. Something to remind her I was still trying. When I walked in, the lights were off. She was on the couch again, scrolling through her phone, legs curled under a blanket like she'd been there all day. The TV was on in the background but muted. I placed the croissant bag on the counter and said, "Hey, I grabbed you something." She didn't look up, just said, "I already ate." That was it. No thank you, no smile, not even a glance. And I know that sounds small, petty maybe, but in that moment, it felt like the final cut. I stood there in the kitchen staring at the bag, then at her, and suddenly, everything I'd been ignoring came rushing in all at once. The late nights, the ignored calls, the online posts, the cold shoulders, the fact that the woman I loved didn't see me anymore. Not really. I was just the guy who paid the bills, a background character in her life, and it hit me. I was done begging for a place in someone's heart that I'd already earned. So I sat down, opened my phone, and went to the post she made, the same one that had started all of this. The one that made me feel smaller than I'd ever felt before. A woman shouldn't have to beg for attention from her own man. It was still there, still lived, still public. I stared at it for a second. My fingers hovered over the screen. I could have ignored it. I could have messaged her privately. I could have tried to be the bigger person one more time, but I didn't. I typed one sentence: "You won't have to anymore." Then I hit post. I didn't even wait for a reply. I stood up, walked to the bedroom and opened the drawer where I had hidden The ring, the engagement ring I spent 3 months saving up for. I took it out, held it in my hand for a second, then placed it on her nightstand. She didn't say anything at first. She didn't even notice, so I said it out loud. I'm canceling the wedding. That got her attention. She looked up slowly. Confused. What? I'm done, I said. I can't keep doing this. I've been working myself into the ground trying to build a life with you, and all you see is what I don't give you. I'm not perfect, but I've shown up every single day. And somehow, that still wasn't enough. She sat up, finally giving me her full attention. You're overreacting. No, I cut in. I'm not. I let it go when you posted that. I let it go when you stopped talking to me, when you started hiding things. But this is me choosing myself. Her mouth opened, but she didn't speak. I could see her searching for something to say, something that might fix it. But there wasn't anything left to say. I wasn't angry, I wasn't yelling. I was just done. She tried to soften her voice. It was just a post. I didn't mean it. Like that. I nodded. Maybe you didn't, but I felt it like that. And feelings matter too. She stared at me. Her eyes welled up just slightly, but she didn't cry. Not then. She looked stunned, like she had spent so long waiting for me to show emotion that she never expected this kind. And that's the thing. She wanted attention. She got it, just not the kind she expected. I walked out. No drama, no big scene, just quiet clarity. By the time I got to my car, my phone was already buzzing. Her sister, her mom, a cousin, even her best friend. Missed calls, voicemails, all of them asking what happened, telling me to talk, telling me to not throw it all away. But no one had called to ask how I was doing, not once. And that said everything. I sat in the car, watching the screen light up with names of people who were suddenly so concerned. And I thought to myself, where was this energy when I was burning out for her? Where were they when she made me feel invisible? I didn't answer a single one because I knew if I picked up, they'd try to make me feel guilty, but guilt doesn't grow where love used to live. And in that moment, for the first time in a long time, I felt light, like I had finally put something down I was never meant to carry alone. And deep in my chest, I knew this wasn't the end of something beautiful. It was the start of something honest. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was second-guessing my decision, because I wasn't, not even for a second, but because I knew what was coming next. The calls, the guilt trips, the twisted version of the story that would get passed around like gossip at a family dinner table. And I was right. By morning, my phone had blown up. Over 40 missed calls, dozens of messages. Her mom sent me this long paragraph about how relationships go through rough patches and how it was wrong to cancel something so important over one emotional post. Her sister sent me voice notes, crying, literally crying, saying how I was the best thing that had ever happened to her, how her sister was just going through something, how this wedding was the one thing holding their broken family together. But no one asked me what I was going through. No one asked why I was working 70-hour weeks, why I'd lost weight, why I'd stopped seeing my own friends. It was like they'd all memorized her version of the story, that I was distant, cold, disconnected, and I just wanted to scream, "You're right, I was distant." Because I was drowning, and she watched me drown. I tried to stay calm. I didn't respond to most of them, but eventually her dad called me. Now, this man had barely spoken to me in the past year, but suddenly he's dialing me like we're best friends. He said, "Son, I get it. You're under pressure, but marriage is about sticking through it. You can't just run when things get hard." And I almost laughed, because that's exactly what I didn't do. I stayed through everything. Through the silence, through the disconnect, through the nights I came home and felt like a stranger in my own relationship. I didn't run. She did. She ran to social media. She ran to her friends. She ran to her phone. She ran away from me every time I needed her to just meet me halfway. That's when I realized they all saw the ring, but none of them saw the weight it carried. To them, it was just a symbol, a shiny piece of gold, a milestone. But to me, it was months of saving, sacrificing, and hoping. It was every skipped meal, every extra shift, every late night I worked while she was out venting to people who never had to live in our house. So I sent the ring back, not in a dramatic way, just a box with a note. It said, "This meant more to me than it ever did to you, and I'm done carrying it alone." Later that day, she finally called. The first words out of her mouth were, "You really sent the ring back. Not, how are you? Not, can we talk? Just, you really did it." I said, "Yeah, I meant what I said." She went quiet. For a moment I thought maybe this was the part where she'd finally be real with me, but then she said, "You embarrassed me. My whole family thinks I ruined this." And that was the moment I knew there was no going back. Not because of what she said, but because of what she meant. Her first thought was her image, her reputation. Not us, not the years, not the love we'd tried so hard to build. It wasn't about the relationship anymore. It was about control, about the narrative, and I wasn't going to be the villain in a story I already suffered through. Told her, "You didn't ruin it, you revealed it." And I finally listened. She hung up. No more calls after that. No texts, no apologies. It was like the moment I stood my ground, the entire illusion fell apart. And maybe that's what it always was, an illusion, a relationship built more on potential than partnership, more on expectation than effort. She wanted the fantasy. I gave her the reality and the truth. She never wanted me. She wanted the version of me that was always giving, always trying, always proving, the version of me that didn't have boundaries. But that version's gone, because somewhere between the late nights and the quiet dinners and the posts that weren't about me but somehow always were, I found something she lost a long time ago. I found my voice, and now, even without the ring, I finally feel whole. The day that was supposed to be our wedding came and went. No flowers, no venue, no guests, just me and silence. It was strange how quiet everything felt. Not just around me but inside me. For the first time in months there was no pressure, no pretending, no trying to fix something that only I was holding together, and it hit me. The silence didn't feel empty, it felt peaceful. I didn't post anything, I didn't explain, I didn't owe anyone that. Because most people had only seen the filtered version, the photo shoots, the save the dates, the couple goal stories. They hadn't seen the nights I sat alone in the living room while she typed away on her phone, or the mornings I left for work without even a goodbye. People think calling off a wedding is dramatic, a failure, but let me tell you something. Calling off a wedding isn't the tragedy. Staying in something that slowly erases you, that's the tragedy. And I was done letting myself disappear in the name of love. I didn't walk away from her because I stopped loving her. I walked away because I finally started loving myself. For so long I thought love meant proving yourself, showing up, sacrificing, but somewhere along the way I forgot that love is supposed to feel like home, not like a job, not like a competition where you lose every time you speak up. People started asking questions, some subtle, some not. Are you okay? What happened? Do you think you'll ever get back together? And the honest answer was, okay, I was hurting. Sure, you don't just unlove someone overnight. But I wasn't broken, I was waking up. And no, I didn't want to get back together. Because now I could see it clearly. We weren't just going through a rough patch. We were living on two separate emotional planets, orbiting each other, but never actually connecting. A few weeks later I ran into one of her friends at the grocery store. She looked uncomfortable, like she didn't know what to say, but she eventually just blurted it out. She's still saying you blindsided her. I nodded. Maybe I did. She raised her eyebrows, surprised. And I said, but only because she refused to see what was right in front of her. That conversation stuck with me for days. Because yeah, I didn't give a big speech. I didn't make a scene. I just made a decision. And to someone who always expected me to be the one who stayed quiet, who sacrificed first, my silence was a blindside, but it wasn't impulsive. It was overdue. I kept thinking about that ring, about the way it sat on her nightstand, untouched. Like even when I gave it to her, she didn't really receive it. And maybe that's what this whole thing was about, not whether she loved me, but whether she ever saw me, the real me. Not the one always proving, always fixing. And the truth is, I think she loved the idea of me more than she ever loved me. And that's okay, I'm not bitter. I'm just honest now. Because sometimes love doesn't die in one dramatic moment. It dies in the slow, quiet absence of effort, in the cold silence of another missed conversation, in the growing gap between two people who stop reaching for each other. So yeah, I walked away from the wedding. I walked away from the venue, the playlist, the seating chart, the dreams we had pinned to a calendar. But I didn't walk away from love. I walked toward the version of love I actually deserve. One where I don't have to beg to be heard. One where my exhaustion isn't mistaken for emotional distance. One where the effort is matched, not just admired from a distance. People tell you that love is about holding on. But sometimes, real love, the kind you give yourself, is found in letting go. And if you ask me now, do I regret it? Not for a second. Because on the day I was supposed to say I do, I finally said something I'd never said out loud before. I said, I matter too. And that changed everything.